Hello and welcome to Film Shrapnel. This is Craig here, and as always, I'm joined by Tobias. Tobias, how are you
Hi.
doing?
I'm ill. I'm very sick. But good
Yeah,
to
but you're
good to be
still going to do the
talking.
podcast.
I'm still going to do the podcast, mate. We haven't done it in so long that I've missed it. I've missed it. I've
Well,
just got back from
to,
Vietnam, so we haven't really had the time. So I'm well up for
that's
it, even though I'm sick.
yeah. I've also been in Greece, so
Oh
every
no.
time we try and record something, we're doing something, and then yeah, we end up with huge gaps, big gaps this year compared to last year, but still, we're going ahead.
We're getting on.
So today we're continuing our death match. It's supposed to be a month, but I guess we can really, I can't know if we can really call it a month.
Yeah,
Let's just
Death
say it's
Game
a
Month.
bunch of death ray.
It's Death Game Month.
Kinda, because it's kind of spread over a month, I think. It's not really a month anymore. It's more like uh, sporadic grouping of episodes.
I suppose
Um,
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is another one that Tobias has recommended. I had not seen this one before. Tobias has, uh, and it was a wicked film. It's Battle Royale.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Tobias,
It's so
please
good.
tell me what you think of this movie.
I mean, this is like a movie from my youth. I used to watch this a lot when I was a teenager. Um, and it was one of those films that sort of got me into Asian cinema in general. After watching this, it's like, okay, I'll go check out Old Boy, I'll go check out Audition. So this film kind of opened my eyes a bit to movies on a global scale. Um, but I hadn't seen it since I was about 18, 19. But back then, I'd seen it like loads, like 20, 30 times. I fucking loved it. So I hadn't seen it in an awful long time. And I'd forgotten just how much I like it. I'd forgotten how good it is. It's fucking brilliant. I love this film so much.
Yeah, it apparently seems to have not only Asian cinema but like violent cinema. It seems based on the other
Yeah.
two films you just mentioned.
No, absolutely, yeah. I like my violent cinema as well. Let's not forget, I was 12 when I first watched Pulp Fiction. That's too young.
Yeah,
That is too young.
I think I was also about I was also about 12 or something when I first watched it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I actually thought it was pornography because I looked at the front cover and I saw like Uma Thurman lying on the bed. It's like, okay, parents are gone. I'm going to put this on. And instead of pornography, I just got a really good film instead. So yeah, turned my life around, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And every time you watch a Tarantino film, that explains why you're jacking off every time. Stunted your development.
It did. It did. Damn Tarantino. So for me, yeah, I didn't know anything about this movie. I've heard of it a million times, but I've never seen anything from it. So I went in watching this without knowing really nothing.
Yeah.
Um, it's a great film. Yeah, I really like
Isn't
this
it?
film.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's
Fantastic.
it's a very fun film. It's a very I don't know. I'm trying to gauge the influence of this one because I think like because we've done a lot of well we've done two deathmatch films so far. We did Death Race 2000 and we've done The Running Man.
Hmm.
Soon we'll do Hunger Games after this, and I'm just trying to get like I do feel that this one perhaps is a big influence on more recent films that have come out. Like
Sure.
I kind of get why some people compare it to Squid Game a bit, although I do. It's
Yeah.
not exactly the same. It's not a clear
No,
comparison, I would say.
I think Squid Game is clearly influenced by it, but I also think Hunger Games it is it's basically the same. It is basically the same story. Now I haven't seen Hunger Games, um, but it's one of those films that I hear the plot and I'm like, oh well, I don't need to watch that. I've already seen Battle Royale, and I can't imagine Hunger
Yeah,
Games is going to be better. I'm finally going to watch Hunger Games for the podcast, but when hearing people talking about Hunger Games, I'm just like, that's Battle Royale. and Battle Royale is perfect, like fucking perfect. So why would I waste my time with Hunger Games? But we're going to give it a go.
Yeah.
And now that
Still give
you've
it a
seen,
go.
yeah, but now that you've seen Battle Royale, what do you think? What's your base impressions of it? Like your first impressions before we get into the finer details.
So I I was expecting the teenagers to be a bit rougher because like at the beginning it's talking about like how unemployment is like 15%, which by the way is not so terrible. Maybe it could be
No,
worse.
it's not that bad,
And
is it?
like no, I think in the UK we've definitely hit 15% at points. And like everything's going like the kids aren't going to school and shit. And then we see one guy stab a teacher who later becomes the teacher for the Battle Royale thing. Kitano, I think his name is. And like,
Well, yeah, go on. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to talk about him. But go on.
yeah, we'll talk about him for sure. I just wanted to, like, I just felt that they could have been a bit rougher. They could have been a bit more like the kids from Akira, for example.
Yes,
Like street kids.
the,
They didn't really feel like street kids. They felt very preppy. So when they were like,
this is the thing.
they're talking about,
The way they all are, it just feels like a real over correction by the Japanese government to make them all kill each other.
yeah,
Massive
maybe,
over.
I don't
It's
know.
like just ground them.
Yeah.
Just ground them.
Yeah, it's something like that. Something a bit more minor. Give them a slap on the wrist or something. Don't make them all kill each other.
Yeah.
Um, but maybe that was kind of the point, and maybe if they expanded a bit more on the craziness of the government, that might have felt a bit more realistic. But it did feel a bit strange to me because they're nice kids. They're good kids. They seem like decent people,
Yes.
most of them. A couple of them
This
are a
is
bit
it.
nuts, but
I would say most of them. Most of them seem like just standard kids. Like they might act out a bit, but they're just kids. I will say I don't know how they like. So there's one character you mentioned it a second ago. There's a character that stabs a teacher in a flashback, and he's one of the first people to die. His neck brace explodes. And when he
yeah.
dies, it's meant to be all sad and oh, this kid's all right. Well, he did try and murder his teacher. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, why? I don't get why the script makes that kid out to be like some nice kid when he stabbed a teacher. I'm a teacher, so I'm all for blowing him up. Fuck that kid. Fuck that kid. I feel like
Yeah, it was.
I think that if you made this now in a time where we have school shootings quite frequently as well, I think it would be more like if you made it more of a response to that, then I think it could have worked. Like it would work a lot better to today's sort of zeitgeist, shall we say?
Yeah, but you do have to remember this is Japan, though. This is
Well,
Japanese
yes.
way of looking at
Well,
the world. It's not American or
but,
even
I
British or
mean,
Western. It's how they see things, you know?
yeah, no, very, very true. I don't disagree. But they do bring up America a few times in this film. And I will say this, Craig. I watched the sequel as well, Battle Royale 2, Requiem. Uh, it's nowhere near as good, but they specifically talk about America, but don't name it. They don't use the name America or US,
Hmm.
but it's clear they're talking about the US. And they just refer to it as that country that everyone's behind, sort of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting how like that there is a sort of negative connotation around America, certainly in the second one, but it's not a
What year
main
did the second one
plot
come
point.
out?
Oh, I don't know. It's set 3 years after the events of the first one. I'll tell you
Uh-huh.
more
That
about the
was
I'll tell you more about the sequel later. I reckon we should talk about the
okay.
original. But there's elements I will sprinkle in.
All right. Shall we briefly go over the plot for our listeners who have never seen this film?
Let's do it.
Um, we kind of explained it already. So basically, Japan it's got like society's kind of falling apart. Kids aren't going to school. It's they're basically like, as Tobias says, it's like an overcorrection of the Japanese government to make this kind of like scheme called Battle Royale, where like a random class from a school is chosen, like I think out of like 43,000 classes or
Yeah,
something.
like a national
And
lottery.
yeah, basically. And they have to then basically, they're sent to this island where there's no one there, and they're given like a bag that's got like some weapons or something. Well, it's always random. Like you always get a random thing. So you might get a machine gun, you might get binoculars, you might get a pot lid, you might get a tracking device. You don't know.
Or a katana.
And yeah, or a katana. And yeah, they basically have to fight until no one is left. Only one student can survive. They have this neck brace thing, like a necklace,
Ah,
that if
it's a death game trope. This is a trope.
yes,
I mentioned this before when we talked about Running Man. Like, where did the neck break, like the exploding necklace trope come from? Maybe Running Man, I'm not sure. But it's present here, and if I'm not mistaken, it's in Hunger Games, isn't it? I haven't seen Hunger Games. We'll find out.
I can't remember, but I think they do have something like that. Like if you try and leave the games, you'll be killed or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is a very common thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's becoming a trope.
I think also in Squid Game there is something like that, but
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember.
And
Anyway,
I swear there's another Japanese one that was on Netflix, like where they're like drawing cards or something, and then it turns into a death game. I forget now what it's called. Like, oh, Alice in Borderland. At least that was
never seen it.
the English title. It's all right. It's all right. If you like Squid Game, you'll like Alice in Borderland. But
Oh, okay, I'll
I'd
tell
say
my wife. She likes it.
Battle Royale is just another level. I think this. You know, I love Arnie. You know, I love Death Race 2000. I think this one is my favourite of the month.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be funny if we watch Hunger Games next and you prefer it out of all of them?
No
That'd be
fucking
shocking,
way.
wouldn't it?
No, that's not happening. That's not happening. Although I do love Running Man. I have a huge I love Running Man and Death Race, but I do love this.
You messaged me when you were in Vietnam that it was on the TV and you refused to watch it.
Yeah, it's only when I absolutely have to watch it. Like I said, I could have gotten Hunger Games out of the way in Vietnam. It came on the hotel TV, and I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to. I don't want to watch it. I'll watch it when I absolutely have to, and otherwise, I'm going to avoid it.
I think I've seen all four.
Really?
I can't remember.
I know Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it, and I like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I don't remember him being in it, actually.
I'm sure I heard he's in it. And Woody Harrelson, I heard's in it.
Woody Harrelson's in it, yeah.
So there are actors in it that I do like. Elizabeth Banks as well, apparently is in it. But yeah, let's stop talking about Hunger Games. And let's get into
let's talk about a better film.
Let's talk about a much better film. So this film, Battle Royale, it opens with I forget how you pronounce it, disarray, or that's the piece of music. It's like da 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 da. It always reminds.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this film.
Yes, I'd love to talk about the soundtrack for a hot minute because it's so excellent. But I have to say that opening piece of music always makes me think of X Factor. So when that comes on, in my head, I've got like Clay Aiken or whatever, however they do it. I'm sorry, Clay Aiken. I'm going back to American Idol. Sorry, I'm out of date with my references there. But yeah, the soundtrack's fantastic. You've got pieces of music from Johann Sebastian Bach, Strauss, Schubert. Like, it's just a perfect soundtrack. And it marries so well with the violence. It's just so well balanced. I love it. Um, and Takeshi Kitano, we see Takeshi Kitano now. Do you recall we have done a podcast with a movie about a movie with Takeshi Kitano in it?
We have.
We have already, yes.
Tell me,
Do you,
which one?
do you remember when we watched Ghost in the Shell for Janime?
Yeah, did
Did
he do a
you?
voice in it?
No, he's in the live action one with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I didn't watch that.
Oh, I did. But I love Takeshi Kitano. He pops up in a few things. Um, a lot of Japanese cinema. I'm a huge fan of Takeshi Kitano. I think and for me, he's the best thing in this film. I think he's fantastic. Um, I'm going to basically skip to the end, but like the way he quote unquote spoiler alert dies, I just think is fantastic, and the way he performs it is so beautiful. Like, yeah, I'm a big Kitano fan, and I love that his character is also called Kitano.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
If that was on
his real
purpose.
his real name's Kitano. Well, I don't think it's on purpose because it's based on on a manga, I believe.
Just coincidence then.
Just coincidence, yeah. So the movie kicks off, and we see like a little girl has won the most recent game. She looks young, by the way. She doesn't look older than like 13 or something. The girl from the first shot, and she's holding the teddy bear covered in blood, smiling. Um, but what I find interesting, so you have all of this media, like, oh yeah, we got the next survivor of the game. It's a little girl. She's smiling. Da, 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 da. So it feels like the game gets media coverage, and yet the kids don't seem to be aware that this is even a thing.
Yeah, that was weird. That was
Yeah,
kind of strange.
right? Like if it was so mainstream, surely the kids would be aware that that the Battle Royale Act is a thing happening. And they don't seem to be
If
aware of it
anything,
at all.
if anything, wouldn't that make you more likely to stay away from school? Because, like, you might die. You
Absolutely.
might get kidnapped and sent to a
It,
fucking island to kill each other.
and in all fairness, like if you're going to make them all kill each other to correct their behaviour, then keeping it a secret from them isn't going to change their behaviour. They need to know that the adults are doing this in order to hope that their behaviour changes, surely. Or am I just mad? Am I missing
No,
something?
I think you're talking a lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense to
I
me.
don't.
Surely the whole point of it, the kids need to know about it. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, it makes no sense.
Maybe it's just because, like, it was just a way of introducing the battle royale thing to the audience. If, like, the main characters don't know anything, then okay, then you get to explain it to them, and so
Well,
the viewers watching
yeah,
can understand it. But
exposition, of
yeah,
course. But I mean,
exposition.
we find out that they've been doing these games for years at this point. We have a character that we meet. So when they all wake up, and then they're like getting explained that they're all going to have to go and kill each other, they have two additional students in the class, one called Kadawa and one called Kiriyama. Kiriyama being the very, very cool and dangerous looking one that all the girls, when I was a teenager who'd watched this, were like madly in love with, even though he's a psychopath.
Yeah,
Pure
and I know,
cold-blooded killer.
and he never speaks.
No, he doesn't
I don't
speak.
think he delivers a single line.
The one line he has, he just like he sort of just well, it's not a line. He just tests the megaphone. We'll talk about that scene later because that's fucking great.
Mm.
um, so yeah, so we get the flashbacks at the beginning where we sort of establish everyone. We meet Nana Harashia. who's our main character, who, by the way, I've seen him in some other films. He was in the live action remake of Death Note, the Japanese one, not the American one. And he
Oh,
plays Light Yagami. I quite like the kid. He's a pretty good little actor. And so we're introduced to him and his friends, and we're introduced to this Nobu kid who stabbed Kitano. And then they're all on like a school trip. They all get drugged. And for some reason, Nanahara's the only one that wakes up. Just so the audience can see what's going on, of course.
Yeah, I agree.
So they all pass out, and then they all wake up in a classroom with neck braces on. And they see Kadawa and Kiriyama. And then Takeshi Kitano comes in with the soldiers. And he starts explaining, okay, yeah, you're all going to have to kill each other. Sorry. I love his performance in it because he's very nonchalant in a lot of places. But they do like an interactive video demonstration. And he's like, yes, arimasu! Like he's all excited, trying to get them enthusiastic about murdering each other.
Everyone clap basically, like whenever they say, like in the woman in the what do you call it, like
the demo,
the orientation video, telling him what's going to happen, and it's like, hi everybody, and he's like, hi, like trying to get everyone to react to it. Yeah, a bit like like he's kind of been like a children's teacher, like for young kids.
Like a children's TV show host. You know, he's like, oh, everyone, let's watch the TV. You know, let's all listen to the nice lady on the TV.
But at the same time, he will kill you.
Yeah, and you know what? So he keeps saying to someone to not whisper while they're explaining the rules. And then someone whispers one more time, and he just fucking headshots them with a knife and kills them.
Yeah.
And when he takes the knife out, I think that's the first time the kids really get that this is serious. Where they're all like, well, this can't be real, blah, blah, blah. And then he does that. They literally see someone die. They're like, okay, it's real. Shit. But Kitano says, it's against the rules for me to kill. So he shouldn't be killing anyone. But if you piss him off, he will. He will kill you. And, of course, he also explodes Nobu's neck brace. He gets his own back for getting stabbed in the arm.
Yeah. But did he ever know that it was Nobu?
Yeah.
Are we sure?
He
saw him.
Yeah, he says to him before he blows him up that, like, you really hurt my ass or something like that.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
So, yeah. He definitely knows Nobu's the one that stabbed him.
But you know what I noticed in this scene as well that I have to mention? Like at one point I saw that, did you notice the classroom, the floor has got like like a plastic sheet or something on it. So it's like they know that when the kids first come in, they're going to reject what's happening and they're going to fight back. And, you know, some of them, they're going to get killed just so they know what's happening. And I think, was it just 2 of them that died at that point? At least
just 2 at the start. Yeah, just 2.
Yeah. Maybe that's good for sometimes. Like, probably sometimes they have to kill more kids for them to take it seriously. Who knows? But yeah, I noticed the plastic sheets.
I did write down like a note where it's like, you're not sure whether all the kids are going to be on board for the rest of the film. Like they're all very firmly saying we don't want to do this. But then when the girl gets killed by Kitano, it says girl number 18 dead, X amount remaining. So as the audience are watching, whether the kids are trying to convince you, oh, we're not going to do this, you, the audience, are 100% in the knowledge. No, this is definitely, you're all going to start killing each other eventually. You're all going to get on board eventually. So, you know, I do love this film, man. There are some inconsistencies, sure, but I really, really fucking love it. Really love it.
Yeah. And yeah,
Um,
it's then they start killing basically to get their bags.
but
They're
yeah.
kicked out. Oh, and there's also the danger zones as well. They have like certain zones
All
in
right.
the island that they're not
Should
allowed to
we
go in.
should we
Uh, di-
should we recap the rules then? Should we recap the rules of Battle Royale
Go
really
on,
quick?
recap the rules because I'm not sure I really understood what the danger zones meant. I don't think we
All
ever
right.
saw what that would mean if you stayed there.
I'll tell you exactly what it means if you stay there. Right. So the game is last man standing. Everyone's got to die. If there are people alive after 3 days, then all their neck braces will explode. If they refuse to fight, their neck braces will explode. If they try anything funny, their neck braces will explode. They have to kill each other. They're all given random equipment. Some are better than others. Um, and then the danger zones, they change every hour. If you're in a danger zone, when the danger zone is like activated, your neck brace explodes. Just adds a little bit more spice. But we don't. But you're right.
So it's basically if you stay there, you explode basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you're not wrong. Like we don't really explore it very much, and it would have been interesting. Like you've got there's a group of like nerdy guys that are trying to like build a bomb and hack the system, and we know that the government are listening to them all through the neck braces, so they know where they are. They all have trackers on them and shit. They know where they are. So I don't know why the government didn't just make that zone that they were in a danger zone. That way all their work was wasted and they have to relocate or blow up.
Yeah,
And I think
that would
they
have made a
go
lot of
into it.
sense.
Yeah. And I think they go into it in more detail in the manga, though I've never read the manga. But I do think they have more of the danger zone stuff in the manga. But yeah, that's pretty much the rules. Now, yeah, so you're right that this is the point where they all start, getting given their bags and going out. What I love about this sequence, everyone has like a different way of collecting their bag. Everyone feels like a completely unique character. They don't, even though some of these characters are only seen for a short amount of time throughout the film, everyone feels like their own character. Everyone feels like, I feel like the actors and the directors, they're really breathing life into every single student in the class, even the ones we don't see for very long. And that I really like because, there are so many examples of like a movie where loads of people get killed, so they just have generic extra actor basically, and nothing special
Mm.
about them. But I feel every single student, whether they're the main character or not, they do feel unique to everyone else. They do have their own sort of vibe, and so it makes it easier to like and dislike characters as an audience member. I fucking love this film. It's so good. Um, so they all get given their bags and go out, um, and they all have like different weapons. And
Yeah,
when Nanahara
it's
gets out,
interesting.
go on.
I was just gonna say how even though they know that it's like a last man standing death match, they still like end up in like the same cliques that they're usually in, the same groups
Yes,
and gangs. Even though
and
like they're gonna have to probably kill each other at some point.
yeah, but that could be a last resort. Like
Yeah, but
if
like
me and you were in this game, Craig, like we'd
I'll
team
kill
up.
you.
Well, we'd team up for 3 days first, surely,
Yeah, and then I kill you
and then
because I
we'd
want to
do
live.
we do like a last man standing. We'll kill everyone, and then we'll
We
turn
could
to
play
each other.
Russian roulette.
No, let's do
Leave it to
Natu Natu.
chance.
We'll do Natu Natu from RRR. That's how we'll settle it.
How did that go again? I can't remember. I remember
You
the
know,
song.
the crazy leg dance they do. Whoever falls over loses. They're the ones that have to die.
Okay. What if we don't have guns? What if we both got like pot lids? How are we going to kill each other?
Well, by the time
Decapitate each other with a pot lid?
by, by the time we've gotten to the end of the game, would have leveled up with our weapons. That's another cool
Uh-huh.
thing about this is that like when you kill people, you get you can take their weapons. So like there is like an element of upgrading as well. The more you kill, the more efficient you become in the game. And like there's real video game logic. They should definitely make this into a video game.
Yeah, I was just thinking what you just said. I was just thinking about the redheaded guy. He basically did that the whole way through. He's just
Yeah,
collecting everything that he gets from killing people. Like very early on, because at first you don't know who is this redheaded loner guy,
well,
and
to
then
be fair,
a gang,
you never find anything out about him besides the fact that he
nothing.
volunteered for fun. That's the only thing we
Yeah,
find out, and that's
and
also really cool. Like he's a mysterious character. It's good that we don't find much out about him, I think.
that's why girls find him so attractive. And then
Yeah,
yeah, very quickly, he kills a whole gang and he just steals all of their weapons, and he's just armed for like the whole film basically from that point onwards.
yeah. At one point, he gets a bulletproof vest. Like at one point, he literally
Yeah,
has all cheats unlocked.
yeah. I remember also that point. So there's one guy. I think he's on a bike and he's gunning him down, and he it looks like he killed him, and then he's just pretending to be dead because he's got a bulletproof vest on. And then Mr. Redhead is actually like standing on top of the building and sees that he's not actually dead. He's
Yeah.
just
You
pretending.
know, I will
And
say,
he
go on.
go on. Now, I was just going to say that he gets a sword out there. I remember when I was at Kyoto, we went to a museum there, like a samurai museum, and the guy was saying that most like if you're at a Japanese guy's home and they have a sword, most of them look like that. They don't look very fancy or anything. It's just literally like a wooden sleeve and a wooden handle, and it was exactly like that guy had. So it's just like a regular normal sword, which was like, okay,
Mm.
I know that's a proper Japanese sword, not some
Yeah.
fancy thing. It's just like that, which is like some extra knowledge I didn't know I had.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's actually a katana, is it? Like it's a more ninja sword than a katana. Katana's a samurai sword.
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I know that there is two types of samurai swords. There's a long one, and then there's a shorter one, but I can't remember what they were called. I know the guy said that the longer ones are for, like, let's say you're outside and you have more space to swing around the sword. The smaller ones, the shorter ones, I should say, is more for enclosed spaces. Like, because if
Yeah.
you're in like a building and you're fighting someone, you can't like you don't have enough space to swing around a sword, so you have a shorter one. So that's why
You
there's
know,
two, but I don't remember their names.
there is one bit where Kiriyama gets hit with like a sword. Oh no, it's the scythe, isn't it? And he just like laughs because he's got the bulletproof vest on. But bulletproof vests don't work like that, do they? They can't
I
stop a
don't know.
blade. I'm sure they don't stop blades. I'm sure they only stop bullets, like quick impact. In fact, I'm sure I read
Oh,
somewhere that a bulletproof vest is only actually good for one bullet because once the impact, like once all the pressure is dispersed, like it's basically just another vest. Once
I
it
have no
protects you from the
idea.
one bullet. I'm sure I read that somewhere. I might be making that up, but I'm sure I've read
I
somewhere
would be
that bulletproof
surprised.
vests, number one, they don't work on blades, and number two, they're only good for one bullet. And in every
I'm not
movie, if
sure about the
someone's wearing
blades
a
thing.
bullet, in every movie when someone's wearing a bulletproof vest, you can just unload on them and they'll be fine. And I really don't think that's real. I don't think that's real. I don't think that's based on fact. But it is just a movie
Yeah,
at the end of the day, and it's really fucking fun. Um,
yeah.
so anyway, so they start coming out of the classroom and entering the death game, and Nanahara is going to wait for his girlfriend, Nariko, which we need to talk about Nariko as well. Who she has a very very strange connection with Kitano. We'll get into that later. There's a lot to unpack with that.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, we'll get to that soon. I wasn't sure what to think of that, to be honest. I feel that I
It's
missed
weird.
something.
No, you didn't. It's just weird. It's very, very weird. So anyway, so they leave the game. They get into the game. Nanahara, he sees a girl with like an arrow in her neck, and it's time for some crossbow action. There's a guy who's clearly not very competent at killing, just terrified out of his mind, blitzing arrows everywhere. And
How did that guy
he gets
die?
shot by... So someone else finds the crossbow on the floor, and he's like, "Is this your crossbow?" And then he runs at him, and then he falls back, shoots him with the crossbow, and that's when that kid's like, "Oh fuck, this is really real." And so now that kid has the crossbow. We'll talk about him later. He's a dick. And then we also get like another flashback. There's a lot of flashbacks in this movie, so it doesn't feel very linear, even though it is. We get another flashback where him and Nobu, he's like remembering Nobu, and Nobu is like, "Oh, do you have a crush on someone?" And like the whole scene is about liking Noriko. They both like Noriko, but it just comes across that they are like secretly in love with each other. Like they're laying in bed. "Oh, do you like anyone? Do you like? Because I like someone." It's like really gay. Like no problem with it. Like if anything, double down on it. Make it really gay. I think that would have been actually quite good if they were like secretly gay with each other. That would have been quite interesting. But I find it strange when people write these things and they don't recognize how it was going to look when they shoot it. Like, have you seen that famous panel from that Batman comic where Bruce Wayne and Robin wake up in bed together? Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's in a real comic book. And it's like, did none of you have the foresight that that's going to look really weird? That's going to look really, really strange. And again, like, they wrote this scene. It's, clearly it's just about liking Noriko. But it does not come across as a very hetero scene at first. It really does feel very, like, repressed sexuality. Before they start explicitly talking about a girl, it does feel like two guys sort of testing, like, do you like me? Because I like you. Like, it does feel that way. I think that would have been more interesting for their relationship, if I'm honest.
It's kind of like, there is a lot of school crushes in this film.
Yeah.
And, like, implied, like they kind of make it sound like they're in love with each other, like, and stuff like this.
This is it.
Like, it's almost like every other character has a crush on one of the girls or something like this.
And no one seems to like each other back. If you like someone, that means they're going to like someone else, and then that person will like someone else. No one can figure out that they like each other at the same time.
Yeah, but that's kind of like how teenagers are, though. Maybe a little bit sometimes.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's sweet. I mean, so how old do you think they're all meant to be playing? They're obviously not the age they're playing. They all look about early 20s, but how old do you think
they're supposed to be something like 15. I think they even mentioned that at some point. They're supposed to be 15.
Yeah, they are 15. So, like, and we can assume that the stabbing happened like the year before. So we're talking about kids that are like boycotting school, stabbing teachers, and like they're all trying to fuck each other, and they're not even 16 yet. Like, they're not, like, I was going to say 18, but like in England, age of consent 16. That's when you're sort of considered an adult in England. That's also the age in America where you can start driving. And it's just mad to me that these kids, they're like 14, 15, and they've already upgraded to attempted murder.
Yeah. I haven't even lost their virginity yet, but they're already trying to stab each other.
Isn't that weird? It's weird. It's weird.
It's a bit weird. They're very immature idea of love, but that's kind of. But I think what I'm thinking mostly about now is just how the tone shifts from a very violent survival situation to a kind of like childhood crush,
Yeah.
bit kind of romantic-y kind of feel.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
it's funny you bring that up. So uh, this is around the bit of the movie where you mentioned Kiriyama kills that big gang and gets loads of weapons, but we have two really romantic suicide scenes, which are quite sad. We have this couple that are like refusing to kill each other, refusing to kill their friends. So they just decide to jump off a cliff together, and it's really sad and really like when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, I might even cry. Like it's really sweet and sad and romantic. Like it's a lot of things all at once. Um, and then there's also not long later we see that there's a couple that hung themselves as well. We don't see that happen, but we see that we see the aftermath of it. And yeah,
I was
all
thinking that they were hung by someone else.
no, they hung themselves. They hung themselves, so they didn't have to. Because if you remember, there's the character. What's her name? Is it Mitsuko? Mitsuko, something
Yeah.
like that. She says, "Oh, I found them next door. I won't go out like that. Fuck that," sort of thing. And then she kills the girl.
With the
I
taser.
do with the taser and the scythe. But I do like the romantic suicide stuff. It makes my heart swell a little bit. Um, and yeah, we get
There was
introduced to Mitsuko, who I have a note here saying Mitsuko is diabolical. Why is it I find scary women attractive?
they're always the most attractive.
I know it's terrifying, terrifying.
I know.
Mate, she'd kill you in your sleep, and she'd do it while I'm smiling. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's something wrong with. I think there's
It's a
something
problem with
not right
us.
in us men sometimes where we're
Yeah,
like, into
that's
that
our
crazy
bad.
bitch, that crazy murderous woman. I really like her.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense, but I really like her.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of wild. It's kind of wild how the scarier she is, the more attractive she becomes. It is wild. But yeah,
There
she.
was one more thing.
Go on.
Sorry, just to talk about the relationships as well. One bit, it's much later in the film. So there was one loner guy that we see for a short time who has like this tracking device. That's his little weapon that
Yes.
he got in his bag. And he's trying to track down this one particular girl who he finds
Oh,
in some warehouse.
this is also
And
very romantic. Although this is like at the end of the film, but yeah, this is so
yeah,
romantic. That,
but it's kind of fucked up, but also kind of a bit, I don't know, I guess realistic in a funny way. Because, like, so she sees him and she immediately starts shooting because she has a gun. And I think maybe she kills him. And he's basically like, I love you or something like this. And she's like, but you never even spoke to me. And I just thought, well,
yeah,
okay, that's very teenagery crush kind of thing. Like
yeah.
he thinks he's going to go there and save her, but she kills him. And it's just, yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought that was, I like, I'm not really a big fan of all the crush stuff, but that one I thought, okay, that feels quite
yeah.
good. It feels realistic.
I like that one, but you're right. There's so many that like they all fancy each other. Like Nanahara, our main character, it feels like every girl wants to smash. All the girls like him. They like every 5 seconds, someone's like, "Oh, you're in love with someone, right? Is it with me? Oh, that's okay. At least I died telling you how I feel." And like this, everyone is just so randy. And okay, speaking of randy, though, there are a few people that are randy in a not so sweet way. and we'll get into them later because they're coming up. Um, by the way, did you watch the extended version?
I might have actually watched the extended one. Yeah, I think the one I saw was like 2 hours and something.
Yeah, me too. Like, so I watched the extended version. When the one I have on DVD, there are certain scenes like I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen this bit. So that was interesting. But I feel like a lot of the scenes you could have left them out. You could have left them out. Like for example,
Like,
the last shot of the film on my DVD copy is when they sort of run away together and it just goes run, and then the film ends. But the copy I had, there was like 3 more scenes after that, like not even wrapping stuff up. I didn't even write notes about those last 3 scenes because for me the film had ended and it was unnecessary to carry it on.
okay, but this bit where they say run, where was that? Like when they were in Tokyo or
Yeah,
in the city, wherever it was?
it's after the game. They've gotten the knife that Nobu used to stab Katana, and I think Nanahara says something like, "We both have a weapon now, and when we do have to use it, it'll be a tough choice." And then he says, and I've
Yeah.
written the line, "Run for all you're worth, run." And then my DVD copy, that's just where it ends. It goes to the credits with the class photo with Katano and
Yeah.
like all the kids. But in the copy I had, like I said, there was like 3 more. Uh,
Tell me what they were. I think maybe I missed them. I think I stopped at the credits.
no. This is before the credits. So yeah, one we see like Katana and Noriko eating ice lollies on the beach again.
Oh, now I know what you mean. These like kind of like not epilogue. No, yeah, epilogue I think, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like there's 3.
there's 3
Yeah, yeah.
epilogues. Yeah, they aren't in my DVD copy, but I saw them this time round, and I just found them so unnecessary. Just finish it with "Run." That's such a good
I
ending. I don't know why they needed.
I
Felt the
agree.
need. Yeah,
It just felt repetitive because I think we'd seen all 3 of those scenes before,
exactly.
or at least 2 of them. I can't remember. At least 2 of
So
them I remember being basically the same from earlier in the film.
it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to replicate the structure of the manga, perhaps. Like maybe the manga had like a couple of epilogue uh, installments where they sort of went into more detail about the past of characters. But yeah, as I say, it's really not. It's really not necessary for the film. Just end it at run. It's a really good ending. Um, sorry, can we go back to Mitsuko,
Yes, go on.
the foxy one, the scary one? So uh, she happens upon a girl who's like found like refuge in a building, and she has a stun gun. And when Mitsuko comes in, like the look on her face, it's like you know this chick is gonna try and kill you. Like there's no
Mm.
look at her face. She is looking at you. She's shining light on her face in the dark, scared, like smiling at you. Like she couldn't be signposting more that she is about to murder you, and yet you give her your stun gun. You fucking idiot! Fucking idiot! You know everyone's around killing each other, right? Why are you giving her your fucking stun gun? You numpty, numpty.
Mm. She deserved to die, maybe.
She did deserve to die. Um, can we talk about Katano's more? I've put it here. Katano's morning updates. I love his.
Yeah, go on.
I just love how uplifting they are. All right, everyone. Here are all the people that have died. Blah 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 blah. Keep going, guys. You got it in you. I believe in you, and shit like that. Like,
Yeah,
I love
very mixed
Katano's morning
messages,
update.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking brilliant. I fucking love Takeshi Kitano in this. Anyway, so like the beginning of day 2, Nanahara, he falls down a hill with a guy with an axe, and the axe ends up in the guy's head. And I love this. I've written it down. Nanahara, so he's just defending himself, and then when they stand up, the guy's got the axe in his head. There's blood gushing out of the wound. It's all down his face. And Nanahara literally, I don't know if it's translated properly, but the subtitles at least were like, "Are you okay? What? There's an axe in his head. He's dead. He might be moving around, but he's fucking dead. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You joked. It's a joke." So yeah.
Did you notice also that he had like some kind of like towel or something wrapped around his head?
Yeah.
And then the axe went in. I was wondering if like that was just to make it look more realistic. I don't know, like some special effects there,
probably.
because maybe they couldn't get
More
the
than
axe in there to look right or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, me and my missus were watching the latest Jurassic World movie, and I was just laughing at how much worse the special effects look to the original film. And we were like, we got up the footage from the original film, the first T-Rex bit, and I was like, oh, to be fair, they do show it all in rain, which is a lot easier to CGI. Like the reflection, like the glint that rain gives the surface of the animal's skin. It's a lot easier to CGI. So yeah, I'm sure there is an element. Oh, what was that? I'm sure there is an element of that bandage just sort of being there as a makeup choice to perhaps sell the effect better. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so when this happens, someone witnesses it, by the way, but that doesn't come about again until a lot later. But keep that in mind, audience, if you haven't watched. But someone called Yoku, I think her name was, or Yuko, she sees Nanahara accidentally killing the guy with the axe, and then runs away. And then Kadawa, one of the transfer students, he shoots the guy and basically saves Nanahara and Noriko. And he's like, "What weapons do you have?" And he got binoculars and a pot lid. And he points the shotgun at them, and he just laughs and just leaves them alone. He goes to leave them alone anyway. But that's when, on the cliffs, you've got these two girls. One of their weapons was a megaphone, and they're calling for peace. And they're like, "Everyone come here. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. We shouldn't be killing each other, blah, blah, blah." Nanahara's like, "Yeah, that's the correct tactic. Let's do that." And then Kagawa's like, "No, you're not going, because they're just drawing attention to themselves. Even if people do go to broker a peace deal, essentially, other people will be going not to be peaceful, but to be killing them. So don't go," sort of thing. And this was the scene I was mentioning earlier with, what's his name again? Kiriyama.
Redhead guy.
Redhead guy. So Redhead guy rocks up and shoots them. But one of them isn't quite dead yet. So what he chooses to do, and this is like the only line in the movie he has, he takes the megaphone and I think he chuckles into it a little bit, or he's at least testing to see if it works. And then he makes sure that the rest of the kids can hear her screams of pain, and then he shoots her and make sure everyone can hear it. And I'm like, God, he's fucking ruthless. Cold-blooded. So yeah, maybe it's fair enough that all the girls in my circle of friends back when I was a teenager fancied him, because I like the crazy girl, and then they like the crazy boy.
Crazy guy.
Fair enough.
It's not healthy, but it's how it is.
It isn't healthy. And then, why is it? I forget now. So I just remember that Nanahara and Noriko, they're sort of like wandering, just the two of them, and uh, like she's dying or something.
Oh,
Like what?
she got hit in the arm at one point, didn't she? But I can't remember how and
Oh yeah,
what
she
why
did.
that was. But yeah, I
Yeah, he was
guess
cleaning her
maybe
wound, wasn't he? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
with water. And I think probably maybe she's losing blood or her wound's getting infected, most likely. That's why she's
All
getting
right.
a bit weaker. That would make sense.
Well, they bump into Kadua again, don't they, when they go to the clinic? And then that's when they basically are like, okay, we're sticking with you because number one, you've got a shotgun, and number two, like you seem all right, like you don't seem like a bad guy. So they stick together. Um, Kadua gives her like drugs and shit. He says that his dad's a doctor. This is the thing.
Yeah.
We don't know how much of Kadua's stories are true. Like, we find out that he had a girl, he was like a survivor of a previous game. Him and his girlfriend were the last two. When their neck brace is about to go off, that's when she turns on him, and he ends up killing her to stop her from killing him. And then she smiles while dying in his arms. Now, I think we are to assume that this did happen. Even though there's one point where he's saying, no, that's bullshit. It never happened. I was just trying to
Yeah.
get you on my side. But I think we are to
And
assume that that did happen. But all the times he mentions his dad has a different
mhm.
profession. And so he is shown to be an unreliable source of information from the get-go. So they are foreshadowing this twist that he's not really their friend. But then that further sells the next twist that, oh no, actually he is.
Yeah.
The double
Twist on the
bluff.
twist. Yeah. Because he knows that these necklaces, uh, they have a microphone in them. So that
Yes.
yeah. The ending, I think, could have been done a bit better. I don't know if we should get to that now or we should save it. But I do feel that it gets a bit convoluted towards the end
I
and not very
I
clear what's
I
going on.
love I love the ending. I
Okay.
love the
All
ending.
right. We'll get
Should
to
we
it.
say we'll
Uh,
save it? We'll save it. Uh,
yeah.
so
Can I
here we
mention
go.
some stuff as well?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Back to Mitsuko. So she's an interesting character. I think like
Yes.
there are a few bits where like there's some flashbacks to a basketball game, and I think every time we see this game,
Uh,
we see it from a slightly different perspective. And I think that she's like kind of by herself. Like I think she's supposed to be a bit of a bully, but she also doesn't really have any friends. And I think some people, like some of the
but
guys,
she's
also
all
suggest that she's
yeah, but
sorry.
she has been sleeping around as well.
Yeah, which is partly why maybe she's not very popular. But we also find out some other stuff about her, like
Amongst the girls for sure.
yeah,
Amongst the girls, she's not
uh,
that popular.
yeah, and we have one flashback from when she's a child where it seems like her mother has basically sold her to be abused by some dirty old man,
Mm.
and she kicks him down the stairs,
Yes. So
and
she's
it's
killed
assumed that he
before.
dies.
Yes,
Yeah,
she's
but
killed
also
before.
like there's some sexual shit sometimes. Like there was one bit that you see it very briefly, and I'm not sure if it's the at the end of probably at the end of day two, where I think it's her. I'm pretty sure it's her. Like she's in I can't remember where she's exactly. She's somewhere like in a building or outside a building, and she's getting her stuff to go. And
Yes.
right
And
next to her, two
there's
naked
two.
boys.
Yes, yes. So she seduced them, got them naked, vulnerable, and then murdered them. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
fucked up.
Well,
By the way,
I
I
will,
was
I
really
will,
thinking because
I
go on,
will, I
go
will,
on.
I will tell you the DVD copy, the the nasty old man scene. I don't remember that at all. So I don't think I think that was
Oh,
cut. I think that was cut from my copy.
uh huh. It's quite dark.
Yeah,
A
it's
violent film
dark.
that's quite dark.
It's very, very dark. Like that, your mum is selling you to that as well. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, super dark.
but there
So
was
yeah, I don't
what.
recall that in the copy I watched as a kid.
Yeah, I was thinking that there was going to be like some kind of showdown between her and redhead guy because they're both kind of
What?
psychopaths.
There was, wasn't there?
Oh, there was kind of,
Yeah,
yeah. So the
yeah,
same warehouse that I mentioned earlier, but I felt like it would be a bit crazier. I think no, he
yeah.
kills
It would
her,
have.
doesn't he?
It would.
Yeah,
He kills her, but yeah, you're right. It would have been nice if it was more of a climactic battle of these two characters that have been quite a concern for the audience, for the main characters throughout the entire film. When they finally meet, it would have been nice for them to really duke it out. Like, yeah, she's the one that stabs him and it doesn't work because he's got a bulletproof vest.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her put up more of a fight because Kiriyama does easily dispose of her. And yeah, it would have been nice to see a much more climactic battle of wits between these two utter psychopaths. Um,
yeah.
but there's also, speaking of sexual harassment, uh, there's a scene, we have more crossbow fun time coming up where
Oh yes,
there's a girl who's like running, she's like keeping fit, and yeah, for whatever reason you're doing that in the middle of a death game, okay, but then she's happened upon by this guy with the crossbow who's like, oh, I always liked you, you never want to fuck once before you die. And when she's like, no, leave me alone, you're gross, he basically says to her, I could just make you. And he points the gun, he points the crossbow at her. It's really fucking brutal. But then she pulls out a knife and she's like, fucking try. Fucking have a go if you think you're hard enough. And she's like, I will resist you with every part of me. And then she ends up chasing him down and stabs him in the balls. Good girl. Good girl.
yeah. It's the only natural way how
Yeah,
things should be done.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Castration. It's the best punishment for guys like that.
Basically.
So her name was Chigusa, and when she dies, because obviously she's found by Mitsuko, who chases her down, shoots her, and then she like crawls off and dies, and she's found by the guy that she likes, admits that she likes him before dying, and all this. Like everyone admits to each other that they've always been in love. Like every single character has been in love with every other single character. And then, we forgot to talk about the smart kids. The smart kids that
Yeah,
are
go
like,
on.
yeah, I love them. I would have liked them to have had more of a involvement in the story. Like we come to them every now and again. We just see one of them like tapping on the computer. Every now and again, we see them lifting shit, collecting shit. Now, obviously, all of this, we need to see all of this. But I would have loved if they were a much bigger part of the story. If we'd followed their characters a bit longer, maybe made them more central characters. I would have liked that.
Yeah, but they did end up being the reason why Redhead died, kinda.
Well,
Because he
yes,
finds them when they make a bomb. And although he destroys the bomb, he becomes blind, which just made him look
yeah,
cooler, by the way, because his eyes are
so
white.
cool.
And
His
then
eyes are
who
white and
kills him,
bleeding.
actually? Is it the other transfer
Kadawa.
kid?
Yeah, I think it's
Aha,
Kadawa
yeah,
that kills him.
yeah.
But Kadawa also took a few bullets in that exchange.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
But there was
that
also some
that'll
about
be
the
important.
smart kids.
Yeah,
So they figure out that they're being listened to. They figure out that there's a microphone in the thing, in the necklace. So one of the smart kids, who's kind of like the leader, starts like, how like pretend hackers do in
Go
movies, starts
find
typing super fast on
go
his laptop.
go go
And
find all of these really highly volatile chemicals that the
yes,
government definitely would have made sure aren't on this island for us. Surely,
yes. And
surely.
like he types it down because he doesn't want the people to listen to them through the microphone. So go and get this stuff, like type it, like write it, don't say it. And then later when they come back, like they're exhausted and they dump it all there. And there you go. There's the fertilizer, the this, the that, and this is like. And I'm just thinking, why did they just say that out loud? They didn't
Yeah.
have to say like
So
they're gonna hear that. So what's the point
I
of typing it?
so I remember exactly the scene you're talking about, and I had the exact same thought. But I realised later in the film, after they talk about them being listened to, you'll see them wearing like tissue stuff underneath the neck brace. So
Oh,
they
okay.
are covering the microphone, even though it doesn't look like they're covering the microphone. Although I'm not sure how
Hmm.
effective a bit of tissue would be to soundproof a microphone. Should we put it to the test? I've got tissue next to me because I've got a runny nose. Oh, here you go.
Test it.
All right, the tissue is now fully covering the microphone. Can you
You
hear me?
sound exactly the same. You
I had a
sound no
feeling.
different.
I had a feeling it would sound exactly the same. So there you go. Debunked. Debunked live on the podcast.
So don't do that at home, kids. If
Don't do
you
that
want
at
to
home.
not be listened to,
Absolutely.
find a better way.
So what happens next? Oh yeah, Kadawa gives Nanahara a gun as like, oh, I promise you I know a way off this island. Here's a gun. And then Kiriyama shows up, kills the guy with the bulletproof vest with the katana. Great death, we talked about it earlier. Beheads the fucker. But then puts a grenade in his severed head and then throws it into the clinic to get Kadawa and Nanahara and Nariko. And I have to say, I do love a grenade in the mouth of a severed head in a movie. That is definitely a trope. That is definitely a trope. It's in a
That is
lot.
a weird trope, isn't it?
It's a very weird trope, but it comes up a few times. I'm struggling to think. Everyone, please comment below. What films have you seen where someone has put a grenade in a severed head and then thrown the severed head of a beloved character?
It happens a lot. Can I
It
also
does.
mention my favorite scene? I really love the kitchen scene.
Oh, I
Uh,
know. Yeah, that's next. Yeah.
yeah, I
So,
think like I can't. So basically, what's his name? Nanahara. Is Nanahara? Is
so
that his name?
his name's Nanahara Shia. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and so like
So he jumped
he's
off.
lured. Yeah, he lures Kiriyama away from Nariko and Kadawa, and then they arrange to meet somewhere else. And then Tracker Guy that you mentioned, the loner dude, he rocks up. He saves Nanahara from Kiriyama, and then they jump in the water, and then he takes Nanahara to the lighthouse where a
Yes.
girl who likes Nanahara has been tending to his wounds. She even says, "Oh, I've never touched a man's body before."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Everyone likes a bit of
And
Nanahara.
they do. Everyone loves him. And yeah, she's tending to his wounds. But the girl who saw Nanohara accidentally killed the guy with the axe.
I think his name
She's
was
there.
Obi. I think his name was Obi. I think.
Yeah. Uh, and so she wants the door locked because she doesn't trust him. And then they want to
Fair.
make him breakfast. And she wants to kill him. So she puts a bit of poison in a plate that's supposed to be for him. But just before it can get taken away and given to him, another girl comes in and grabs the plate
Another
and starts
girl.
eating it.
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Uh,
hungry.
and of
Thanks.
course, yeah, basically. And then very quickly she starts vomiting blood and dies. And yeah, basically everyone's like, I think, how many girls are there in that room? At least 4 or 5,
Five,
I
something
think,
like that. Yeah,
including the poison girl.
I think five. Yeah.
And yeah, they all just start shooting each other,
So,
accusing each other of trying to kill each other, and they're all dead except the girl who with the poison, who's just hiding under the table.
just
Or does she
moaning.
also
It's not
die?
my. No, she does. She kills herself with the guilt, but she's under the table going, "It's not my fault. It's not my fault." And it's like, no, this is absolutely your fault. Like you
Hmm.
were all maybe going to get out of this alive because you were all cooperating, all communicating, actually dealing with the issue, and then you took it upon yourself. I'm going to kill someone. And so, yeah, it's absolutely your fault, 100%. But I love this scene as well, Craig. My note that I've got here for the lighthouse scene, I've said it's Tarantino-esque. Really reminded me of like the poison scene in Hateful Eight, but also like the scene at the end of Reservoir Dogs, where everyone's dead. Like, yeah, I found it very Tarantino-esque in its sort of feel that everyone's dying.
That's interesting because I read that Tarantino quite likes this movie as well.
He does. He does. Yeah, it's in his top 20, I think. Or at least it's in his
Yeah,
top 20 of the 90s. I don't know. But I'm sure I read something that he's like, yeah, this is one of his all time favourites, up there with The Matrix and stuff.
mm.
And the same year as The Matrix as well.
I
Interesting.
think it's 2000. So Matrix was the year before.
I thought this
If
was
it's 99,
99. Yeah, I thought this was
no,
99.
it's 2000.
They at least shot it in 99. We're going to count this one, guys, as a 90s death game movie.
Just to please you.
Just, well, because we're doing one from each decade. And if this is the 2000s, then I miscounted. I definitely miscounted because
You
Hunger
made an
Games is the
assumption.
2000s. Yeah, I made an assumption. My bad. But yeah, the poisoning is great. I think you're right. This might be the best scene of the film. It's so well
Yeah,
done.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then
shall we start
this
talking
is
about the ending? Because we've been talking
and
a while now.
this is where we start getting the weird shit with Noriko and Katana. I think we need to talk about it.
Yes, that's the biggest thing on my mind right now. Actually, is that weird relationship that I'm not sure what's going on exactly.
It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. So they have so at least in the copy that I watched last night, it says that they have a shared dream. Um, but I'm sure in the original copy that I owned on DVD, it's just a scene that they throw in with zero context. I think I always assumed it was a flashback, not a dream. But they made it clear in the copy I watched yesterday that it's only a dream. And she's like, "Oh, he's just lonely." And it's like, well, okay, you're trying, like they're trying to make like Katano a likable character for the audience, I guess, because he's so well performed. Um, but I think it would have been better, number one, to just keep him as an out and out villain, working for the
Mm.
government. But they have this strange relationship where they like each other, I guess. Like, is this a very inappropriate relationship for a teacher and a student to have? I fucking think so. As a teacher, I think this is really fucking strange. And then we'll fast forward to the end for just a sec. He wants her to survive. He says to her, if I could
Yeah.
choose anyone to live through this, it would be you. So kill me. He literally tells her to kill him so she can survive. At one point, he comes to see them in the game and gives them an umbrella. Like,
Yes.
what is going on? Now, don't get me wrong. I think it is made clear that she reminds him of, like, the daughter he wishes he had. And we do see, there's a couple of scenes where he's on the phone to his daughter and she talks to him like absolute shit. So, you know, to be fair, the way his relationship is with his daughter really reinforces how children are behaving in Japan in this universe. It's the only real glimpse of it we get outside of the class. And
But could
she
it
does
also
talk to
be
him
that
like
he's just a
absolute
crap
shit.
father?
Well, it could
He could,
be. However, I'll tell you that a bit more later, but it comes up again in the sequel. In fact,
yeah.
I'll say this. In the ending of Battle Royale, Kitano reveals that he's been working on a piece of art
Yeah.
and it's just a really crudely drawn painting of all the kids killing each other, but then at the center with a halo as like this angelic, being to him is Noriko. And it again, that's a bit weird as well. Drawing your
It's very
student
fucked
like
up.
it's very fucking weird. However, if I told you that painting is a huge plot point in the sequel, would you believe me?
Tell me, please.
In
I must
the
know.
in the sequel, she's not the main character, but one of the characters. Okay, I should really save this for when we get to the end of the pod, really, because it's basically a whole new
Tell me
plot
now,
that I need to
please. Come
explain.
on. Just tell me. It's on your
All right.
mind.
All right, so basically, 3 years from the end of this film, 3 years on, Nanahara has become a domestic terrorist, and he's like declaring war on all adults. And so the Japanese government passed the new Battle Royale Act, the BR2 Act, real original. And that act is you don't have to kill each other, you have to work together to kill the terrorists. So they send them to an island that Nanahara's hiding in with the rebel resistance, and they're like, "Go kill them all." And that's the death game in the second one. So they don't have to kill each other. I didn't like it as much because it's like, I think the fun is that they're killing each other, not being forced to essentially be an untrained army unit. However, Katana's daughter, the one that he's on the phone to in this movie, she actually volunteers her class for the death game. So in this one, it's random. In the second one, Katano's daughter specifically volunteers her and her class, without telling them, obviously, but she volunteers for the program. And she wants to confront her issues with her dad while playing the death game. We do
But
have
he's already dead.
Yes, he's already dead at this point. He dies in the first one. Although we do get flashback scenes with Takeshi Kitano. He comes back for some flashbacks. But she explains at one point, I found a painting. And when I realised that the girl in the middle wasn't me, I was really angry. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. That painting basically motivates her to essentially go on essentially a suicide mission to figure out her issues with her dad. Second one's not as good at all. It's really shit. The motives are shit. It's just shit. Nanahara's in it again. He's good in it, I guess.
Yeah, it just sounds like they're trying to take as much as they can from the original without building anything new from it.
Yeah, it's really I don't like it as much. I mean, it's still like a laugh. And the teacher, they get another teacher that's also like fucking mental. But then they also humanize him by the end of the film as well. So you feel bad for him and shit. And it's like, but you've just watched him kill a bunch of people cold-bloodedly. We shouldn't really feel bad for this character at all. But they basically needed another Takeshi Kitano style character. And he is very much in the same style. But he has a big long coat instead. He has an anime coat.
Can we discuss the ending a bit as well? Because I feel that maybe I missed something at the end of Battle Royale.
All right, go on then.
Um, so towards the end, we have our three characters left: Nanahara, Koriko, and Kadawa. Did you say his name was?
Yeah,
Um, and it seems like there's a twist. Uh, the guy that they trusted seems to be like threatening to kill them, basically, so he can win
yeah,
and leave and live.
yeah,
But it's actually like a twist on a twist, because he knows that they have microphones, and I think then it suggested that it sounds like he killed them both. So,
yeah.
or who do they say wins? Did they think won? Basically,
Kanawa,
the army
Kanawa.
guys. Yeah, okay. So then the army guys is like, okay, they're all dead. What do we do now? Do we need to confirm their bodies? And Katana
Yeah,
was like, no, just go, or something like this, which was kind of weird.
yeah.
And
I wrote that down
oh,
as well.
and then so the army just leaves, which seems strange. Like he has a lot of power, actually, Katana. It just like kind of does what he wants, which I felt
This,
was a bit
I,
strange.
this is the thing. I don't get this. 'Cause it's the same in the second one. That this is the only thing I don't get. At the end of the day, he is just a teacher. He is not a military general. He's not a politician. He's just the only reason he is the one doing this is because he was the teacher for that class. That is the explanation we are given. It's the explanation given in the sequel where it's like, oh, it's our teacher. And oh, why are you suddenly so mean to us? Oh, but like the role of the person doing the announcements, explaining the rules, it seems to fall upon the teacher of that class. Oh, actually, well, so if we remember at the beginning of Battle Royale, Kitano does say to them, "Your teacher that replaced me after I had to leave because you fucking stabbed me."
Ah,
He said to them, "Your teacher opposed your selection, so we killed him."
yeah.
So they
And his
they
body is
literally
showing
wheel
on
his
like
body
a
out.
table.
Yeah. So perhaps that would have been the teacher. If he hadn't opposed it, he would have been enforcing it. So why are you giving the teachers so much power over the military? Surely the
But it
military would be
does,
telling him how to behave. Surely the military are the
yeah.
ones in charge, really. So yeah, that didn't. I agree. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense that he just sends them away. And to be fair,
It,
I got the impression that he knew that Nanahara and Noriko had survived. That's why he tells them, no, don't check on the bodies.
yeah,
Just go home. And just leave me
yeah,
on the island. Like, fuck it. I'll just stay here. Why not? Weird.
yeah.
Strange.
It was kind of strange. I think that they really wanted it to be just them at the end, so they can have this confrontation. But it felt very unusual. It felt like they could have given a better reason for the army just to go. Basically, they need some evidence. Surely they just can't just go. But yeah, and then we reveal. Well, then Katana reveals that. Do you think it's a sexual thing that he has for Noriko, or you think it's more of
I
like
mean, it
something else?
might be, but I think they do make an active effort in that he has got a shitty daughter who talks to him like absolute shit. So perhaps we are to assume that she's like the only kid in the class where he's like, that's a good one. That's one of the ones that shouldn't have to deal with this shit. That's one of the ones that aren't dickheads. Because they made such an effort to tell us, oh, children have become shit in Japan since the turn of the millennium. We don't see much of it, in all fairness. They all seem all right. But they're like, yeah, children have become awful to the adults. And Noriko is like a good one. She's a good egg.
Basically, I don't know
But
because there's a big
I
theme of
still,
crushes
but
in this movie.
there is a
So
theme
maybe
of
he had a
crushes.
crush on her.
Well, maybe that this is the thing. It's hard to tell because on the surface level, it really does appear that way. It appears to be a very inappropriate relationship between student and teacher. However, I do feel that they give enough to perhaps be suggesting it's not a romantic admiration, but more of a you're a good teacher, you're a good student sort of thing, like a father and daughter type relationship. Let's not forget that a lot of these kids do have really like difficult relationships with their parents. Obviously, Scary Girl had a really difficult relationship with her mother, who's selling her to nonces. You also have
Nanahara.
Nanahara, whose mum walked out on the family when they were kids, and then the dad killed himself. So he feels very abandoned by adults. So a lot of these kids do have difficult relationships with their parents. So perhaps Noriko sees Katana as a father figure of sorts. But I do agree with you. I think the way it's displayed, it does feel romantic, doesn't it? That it does feel inappropriate, and it's hard to see past that.
I think the way that you feel about their relationship is how you're supposed to feel. That it's uncomfortable, weird, and not normal. And I think that's what they were going for, and that's what's achieved.
Harold and Maudy, perhaps.
Need to watch that film. You recommended it before.
It's good. It's good. So, really briefly, I was just going to say, I really like the nerd characters, and I'm really gutted that they don't get to enact their plan. I would have loved to have seen what they would have done with all of that bomb shit that they made. And instead, they just blind Kiriyama for the final showdown.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a shame.
Hang on. You started a point earlier, and I don't remember if you got to the end of it. So were you going to ask how did they get their neck braces off? Is that what you were going to ask? Or you said you thought you missed something?
No, I just like maybe like retelling it back to you now. It maybe there's nothing that's not clear. I don't know. It just felt a bit. Maybe it just felt too easy. Maybe that's what it was. Like that they just pretend to kill each other, and then the army just goes, and then they just arrive where Kitano is. It just felt a bit. I was feeling that maybe there was something more that was happening that I didn't get because it felt too simple, too easy for that just to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or am I just? Is it just a me thing?
No, I agree because I feel like they take their neck braces off screen. We never actually see what Kagawa knew about the necklace in order to take them off. And to successfully fake the Nanahara and Noriko dying.
Yeah.
Because you would imagine they'd have some kind of like vital sign output.
Yeah, like heart rate or something.
Yeah, you'd imagine. And then when they confront...
Some plot holes.
There are some plot holes. But the final scene with Kitano... I just love this, Craig. So, obviously, the three of them have survived. They go and confront Kitano. Kitano basically reveals that he's a nonce. And he's like, I've always liked you, Noriko. You better kill me and save yourself. Otherwise, I'll kill you. And when he pulls up his gun, Nanahara just mows him down with the machine gun. And Kitano, it's revealed that it's only a water pistol. So Kitano had never actually intended on killing them at the end there. He wanted them to kill him. Probably because he's just sick of his own life, that fucking awful daughter of his. Oh, another thing I love, it takes him the whole movie to get through this box of cookies. And
It
when
takes for a whole three
I,
days, and he really
I
likes them.
know,
So you'd think that maybe he'd eat them faster.
yeah, I love this. I love this as like a character thing, a quirky character thing for him. We haven't mentioned it at all, but yeah, he's been eating this box of cookies the whole film. And when he gets shot, uh, they all sort of like relax, and then his phone starts ringing, and he just stands up like he hasn't been shot, and he like Jigsaw in the original Saw style. He just stands up, goes to the phone, sits down, answers it, like, yeah, I'm not coming home. Fuck you. Throws the phone away, and then that's when he gets the last cookie, and he dies with the last cookie in his mouth. I love
Yeah,
how he performs this scene. I love this ending for the character.
it's a bit weird though how he just stands up as if he's not been shot. Like, I don't think that's
I know.
possible. That
Well, maybe
unless he was
I
wearing
know
his vest.
it's ridiculous, but I think it's just like the adrenaline at this point. He knows he's dead, so it's like he gives a fuck about the pain. I'm just going to go tell my daughter she's a bitch, and then throw the phone away. I've got enough strength to call my daughter a bitch one more time.
Before I die, it will be the last
Uh,
thing I do.
and so,
Oh shit!
yeah, I do love that ending for him. And then they get to a boat. They make it. This is just the end. They get off the island, and Kagawa, um, he dies by
In a similar
well,
way, kind of like he just suddenly realized that he's shot and in pain. It's, oh no, wait! Like he's been like driving this boat, and now suddenly just needs to just die. You know,
yeah.
bit
Well,
odd.
he's been losing a lot of blood. Uh,
Yeah, but he was super fine for ages, and now he's like just dead on the
I
boat,
know,
which is kind
and
of a bit.
I quite like his character as well. It's a sad death for Kagawa, but I do like his death when he's like, I got to discover the meaning of uh, Kiko's last smile, and then he smiles at Nanahara and Noriko, and then dies. So we never find out, as the audience, specifically what the answer to the riddle is. We just know that he knows, and that's enough.
Hmm.
It's nice. There's a lot of wholesome shit in this film as well. There's something so mental and violent and crazy. It can be wholesome as well.
Yeah, it's a weird mix. I think some
Yeah,
is it a Japanese thing? You think like
perhaps,
they
perhaps.
sometimes intertwined with all the violence and crazy shit, there's some wholesome nicety shit happening. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I
That
mean,
feels
maybe
off genre.
perhaps it is just the style of Japanese cinema. Yeah, I hadn't really considered that. Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it might be the case. Let's. I think we should wrap this up because we've been talking for an hour and a half now.
Yeah,
Uh, let's. What do we think of this film? What's our consensus? How do we rate it?
mind
What do you
blown.
think? I think you've got some very strong feelings.
So my IMDb score, I'm going to give this a 9.
Ooh, nine,
Yeah,
nine.
I don't often go this
That's
high.
very high.
It is
You
very,
did
very
give
high.
one film 10 out of 10 recently. You gave Death Race 10 out of 10. Ah, but that was your personal rating. That wasn't your IMDb rating, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough. I think my IMDb rating, sorry, is 8.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I think I was mixing the two together. Right, IMDb rating 8, personal rating 10.
Oh, 10. Wow.
I like this
Uh,
film a lot. Even the problems that we've pointed out, the inconsistencies, the character logic, the flaws, um, we can definitely pick a lot of holes. but it's just fucking excellent. It is fucking
You know,
excellent.
some movies you don't mind the plot holes, you know them, but you don't really care. It's when the film
Yeah.
is shit and there's plot holes, it just is annoying. But when it's a
Hmm.
good movie and you quite like it, you're like, all right, yeah, that's a problem, but it just adds to the kind of charm of the film. I
Absolutely.
don't mind it.
Mm.
Uh, for me, I think I did look it up actually on IMDb because I was curious, but I can't remember what it was. I think it was probably 7.5. I'll double check that in a second. I think probably for me, I'm also going to give it about an 8, actually. I think it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's really like, of all these death match kind of films, probably one of the best made.
Yes.
Uh, it's definitely better made than Death Race and The Running Man. Uh,
I mean, I have to say, like this month is tough because all three films are films that I would watch again in a heartbeat. All three films are excellent, like commentaries on society. All three films have a lot of the same ideas, but they do it in different ways. Um, it's been difficult for me to sort of. I do think I think Battle Royale is the best out of the three, but it's close because you know how much I'm an Arnie fanboy. I fucking love Running Man. I adore that film so
mm,
much. Death Race 2000 has been one of those cult films that I always try and get people to watch. I think it's a film that everyone needs to see. It's a good laugh. But yeah, Battle Royale, I think it's when you take what's good about Death Race 2000 and Running Man and you actually make a good film with it. You know, not too tongue in cheek, but actually take itself a little bit more
yeah.
seriously. But because it's that Japanese style to a Western market, it still feels a little bit, you know, quite tongue in cheek. Um, but it still has that really serious element as well. Like you say, balancing a bit of, you know, some darkness is in there, some very dark shit is in there. Uh, you relate to the characters. You don't relate to anyone in Running Man or Death Race. They're too tongue in cheek for that.
Mm,
Whereas in this film, you really do get the opportunity to feel for the characters, to get to know them, spend time with them, root for them, hope that they survive. Um, yeah, it just takes itself that little bit more seriously. That it
for
does
me, that's a
elevate
big
it.
part of why it feels a bit smarter
Yeah, yeah,
than the
I
others.
agree. It's also incredibly well balanced. Like we mentioned, I think you mentioned in Death Race how quick the film felt, like very fast paced. It's only 80 minutes long. Before the 5-10 minute mark, you're already racing. This film, for every flashback in this, like there's a lot of flashbacks, but they're very, very succinct and they only tell you exactly what you need and then they get back to the story. I feel like it takes less than 5 minutes for those kids to wake up in that classroom and start getting told that they have to kill each other. Like less than 5 minutes. And then they do just
Mm,
spend 2 solid hours letting the audience watch them murder each other. Like they really get through the backstory quick and throw you right in. And it's fucking great.
yeah.
This
Although
is
they do return to the backstory here and there,
Yeah, but
but
like
it's okay.
it's very succinctly told. They don't spend long on it at all. You know, you get just what you need to know, and then it's like, okay, let's go. So even though it's a longer film, it's very succinct storytelling. It doesn't feel like a long film. It feels shorter than it is. It doesn't drag at all. Um, yeah, this has got to be a 10 out of 10 film for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's just so
I'm
well
gonna.
balanced.
For me, I don't think I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
Give it a
But
nine.
I
Go
do
on.
quite like it. It's gonna be at least an 8 or a 9. Maybe let's be nice, a 9. I'll give it a 9. Uh, do you want to know its actual rating, which I think probably is 7.5?
Go on.
Uh, Battle Royale. Oops,
Battle
there it is.
Royale.
Yes, actually, it's 7.5. Which I do wonder why some people might have not voted it so high, because
Well,
it's a very
again,
enjoyable. I don't really know what people would have disliked about it.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of Western audiences, they struggle with Asian style cinema. Like, so we've talked about this before. I know people that will flat out not watch a film if it has subtitles. Like, they refuse. They're like, I'm not going to sit there and read a book, so I'm not going to sit there and read a film. I've got a mate. He makes me laugh, but he's like, mate, I'm not watching that fucking RRR. It's 3 hours and I have to fucking read. Are you joking? So I've nagged him for years to watch RRR, and he has just flat out refused. He's like, fuck off. I'm not even going to humour you. So yeah, there are people out there that just simply don't watch films that aren't in English. And maybe there's an element of that. Maybe it gets downvotes when maybe people have friends like me that force them to watch it on like a drunken night or something. And then they're like, yeah, I knew I wouldn't like this because I've had to read the whole fucking thing. If I wanted to read, I'd buy a book, or whatever. So yeah, maybe that's why it's a lower rating than we would have thought. Because I would, if I was good to predict an IMDb rating, I would have gone for like an 8.2. That would have been my prediction for like what the masses would generally say about it. So I'm not
I was
far
also
away.
thinking it would be higher.
Yeah. So I'm not far away from 7.5, but
Interestingly, Audition, which came out a year before.
Yeah, it's a lower rated.
And
I think it's lower
it
rated.
is. It's 7.1. So
Yeah.
Battle Royale is seen as a bit, but I think more people have seen
Battle
Royale
Oh
than
yeah,
Audition, and also I think
I would say
the
Audition.
tone.
I think Audition's a better film as well.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you. But the thing is, I think what some people might not like about Audition is
it's boring as fuck.
It feels, huh?
It's boring as fuck. It drags.
Yeah, it feels like it takes a long time till we get to the gory shit which we're waiting for at the end, which is very fucked up. But like it feels like you have to sit through like 50 minutes of a romance film before you get to horror. So maybe that has something to do with it.
But I do like Audition. It's probably a better made film, but I don't think it's anywhere near as enjoyable as Battle Royale. Battle Royale is, from start to finish, a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine anyone not enjoying the absolute romp that Battle Royale is. It's just incredibly enjoyable.
Indeed.
In a nutshell.
My buddy, my pal, my best friend in the world, we're at 1 hour and 45 minutes. I think it's time. We've almost talked about this film as long as the film is itself.
Oh my god! All right, let's cut it there. Sorry, I had my laptop.
When Tobias has a passion for a movie, he keeps going. He's got some strong stuff he's got to say. He's got to get it off his chest. Someone has to hear him speak.
You know what? Maybe we cut this into 2 episodes then. We make Battle Royale a 2-parter. We had to do it with RRR as well because we spoke for like 2.5
3
hours.
parts.
Yeah, 3 parts for RRR because we spoke for 3 fucking hours. All right, we can wrap things up here. Thanks everyone for coming out to listen to Film Shrapnel. That is who we are. Go check us out on all the social medias at Film Shrapnel, capital F, capital S. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. We'll start uploading to those things pretty soon, I'm hoping. We're also all over the place, hopefully. We're also all over the place. We've spread like chlamydia. We are on Spotify. We are on Podbean. We're on Apple Podcasters. We're everywhere. You can find us everywhere, as long as they leave our channel alone and keep us up. and stop taking us down.
Yes, please stop doing that, Spotify. It's annoying.
It's annoying that we have to keep reactivating the account. Craig, is there anything you want to say to the lovely listeners out there?
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Again, as always, I'm not sure when this one will come out, and I don't know what we're doing after that. We have some ideas, but we'll see.
But I will say, I told someone that we were doing a Death Game month, and I told them I was doing Running Man, Battle Royale, Hunger Games, and Death Race 2000. They'd not heard of Death Race 2000, but they were like, "Oh, dude, have you listened to that song on YouTube?" I'm like, "Go on." And they send it to me, and it's someone who's doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. They've written a song, and the song is literally talking about how Hunger Games is a rip-off of Running Man, and Battle Royale is as well. And I forget, it was like, "Fuck you, the Hunger Games." And like, he mentions in Arnie voice that he's tolerant of Battle Royale, but he's really angry at Hunger Games.
I can get that.
But yeah, I'll have to send you it, Craig, because I forget who it was that even showed me it, but I was like, "That's fucking amazing." I wish I'd heard this song before we started recording, because they mention 75% of the films we're talking about this month within the song. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
We love talking to you. We love you hearing us. And until next time. How am I signing out? How should I sign out?
Oh, however you like.
Game over.
What's the first thing that comes to your head? That's not what I was expecting.
Well, he does that, doesn't he? He says that. There's someone who says that in the movie, isn't there?
I don't.
Like, yeah, Kagawa. He says it to them. He says, "Game over for real this time."
Oh, okay, if you say so. I'm trusting you.
I'll just say, okay, well, until next time, everyone, go and love and respect Takeshi Kitano. What a fucking guy. If there's anything you can take away from this episode, Takeshi Kitano deserves your love and respect. He's a great actor. And Craig, I would love to suggest that we do a Takeshi Kitano month at some point.